Okay, I'm here at the Fireside Games booth with Justin DeWitt, designer of Dead Panic, a game I had the absolute pleasure to play earlier. And he's going to give us a quick little rundown of how the game works. Go ahead.
Yes, all right. So, the way this one works, very different than Castle Panic, yet very similar at the same time. The biggest difference is that you are a character in this game. You actually have a presence, as in you are one of the character tokens. You will also have a character board. The character board gives you one special ability for each player, a certain number of injuries you can take, and then it summarizes some of the gameplay. We got the order of play right here, and all the possible actions you can perform on your turn.
Right.
So your turn is based on 2 actions. Most of what you're going to be doing is things like scavenging the cabin for supplies as the zombies come in to try and kill you. That means going through the cabin deck and getting cards. You might also be moving. You can move your character 1 space for 1 action, and you have to go around. You can't go through the cabin. You can also leave the cabin and go outside, but when you do, zombies will chase you down because they can see you and they're smart. So, as you're fighting, you're going to be using the cabin cards to do different attacks. Ranged attacks have a certain number of damage they do, a certain range that they'll reach. For example, the shotgun only reaches 1 space away, so I would need a zombie to be right up close in the yard for me to be able to use that. They also have a limited number of bullets. Each time you use a bullet, you rotate to show that it's been used. When you're out of bullets, your gun becomes a club. It can now be used as a melee weapon, but it will break the very first time you use it, because that's not how you're supposed to use a gun. So, melee weapons normally look like this. This is the kind of melee weapon you want. It doesn't have a range, but it does a certain amount of damage and has a certain bonus or rule. Now, combat with zombies in this game is very different in terms of you're still damaging them for health with ranged weapons, but when it comes to combat, melee combat, every monster has an attack value that it fights at. This brawler, for example, is at 8. I would have to roll 2d6 and get at least a 9 to beat him. An 8 would be a tie. And if it was a normal monster, like say I was fighting this sprinter, a 7 would be a tie. The brawler, however, has a special ability. He wins on ties. I really need a 9 or else this guy is going to be a win. And on a win, you have a choice. You can either take an injury token, of which you cannot take very many, or you can drop the weapon you were fighting with. So these can kind of be counted like health, but they go away. On every turn, players are going to perform their 2 actions. All players perform their actions. Then all the zombie stuff happens, and that's primarily controlled through event cards. Event cards, when you flip them over, have 2 important pieces of information. How many zombies you draw, and then what happens afterwards. Zombies are drawn based usually on the number of players in the game. That's what that symbol means. So a 2-player game, you'd only draw 2 zombies, but a 6-player game, you draw 6 zombies. Then you do whatever this says. This one's related to movement, some involve discards, and tricks and traps, things like that.
Just a reminder that your friendly and somewhat competent Exhibitor HQ staff stands ready to accept your rebook applications for next year until
Alright,
7
so the goal of the game is survival, and the way that works is survivor tokens will come out of the bag just like monsters, but they're friendly. They will move 1 space at a time closer to the cabin and try to bring you radio pieces. Whether they reach the cabin or die trying, either way, you're going to end up with a radio piece on the board. Now, if it's outside the cabin, you have to go get these radio pieces, pick them up, and build them. There are 3 radio pieces. Once you've got them, you build your puzzle, and then you call for rescue. The rescue looks like this. This van shows up willing to help you, but here's the trick. They park out in the woods. I'll go ahead and put it on the board so you can see. And you have to get your character out and into the van to be safe. As long as you've made it to the van, you're not in danger of dying from a zombie, but on the way you may be destroyed, chewed up, or whatever. Because zombies, like I said, are smart in this game. So if you're outside and there are zombies nearby, unlike Castle Panic where they simply move forward, our zombies are smart. And if they can see you, which means they can see their half of the board, they will come after you. So these 2 would go forward to try and eat this player. These 2 will go sideways to try and reach him. Even though they're slow, they're still coming after you. So you can see how it went from a relatively calm, I'm on my own, to I am surrounded by way too many zombies. And that's going to happen a lot. You can tell that.
Yes, it does happen quite a bit.
So the only other thing I have to say is that if your guy, for example, rolled really badly, takes enough injuries and dies, he actually could become a zombie version of yourself. There's a triangle token that matches him. You go on the board as a 3-point zombie. You can move 2 spaces on your turn, and then you would use the damage tokens to pick 2 of the icons that represent your abilities. You get to customize your zombie after you die. Okay. So I could choose to win on ties, or maybe a +1 to my rolls, and then I fight my former players as a zombie.
Right.
So that is that.
Okay, thanks, Justin, for the review.
You're quite welcome.
Definitely appreciate it. And I did, like I said, I did get a chance to play this earlier, and we won just by the very skin of our teeth.
Good, that's what we want.
Thanks.
You bet.